Look who it is again, Sean Maguire, SpaceX investor, big supporter of Elon Musk's many projects, also an investor in X and the Boring Company, also assisted with the Department of Government Efficiency. And for those who don't know, he also has a PhD in physics. He has more thoughts on SpaceX.
So let's start with SpaceX's upcoming IPO. I think a lot of people would love to have exposure to it, would love to know the inner workings of what's going on. The latest is that there's going to be data centers in space. So what is the update on SpaceX that people?
Great question. I'm very privileged to be a major investor in the company. And I'm just going to start with the caveat that I take that as a huge responsibility. And so I try not to share anything that I don't think is already public. But I'm pretty good at packaging what's public because I follow it very, very closely. Look, I personally believe SpaceX is the greatest company of all time. I think the company is just getting started. I have many other great portfolio companies, but I'm willing to say SpaceX is on a different level of every.
This is quite a telling statement from a venture capitalist. Got slices of plenty of companies, and here he is describing SpaceX as on a whole other level. And you can see just from the look on his face, this company is different. And I don't think he's the only one who believes this to be so. The amount of buzz now around the SpaceX IPO is absolutely ridiculous, and it's only going to spool up even more as the inevitable IPO approaches, most likely, let's just say, mid-year.
Company. It's also just so fun to work on, like launching rockets into space. One thing for me that's kind of been a lesson of watching how Elon builds companies is I think he focuses on like the bottlenecks and the most important thing. And then once that starts to clear up, then he starts to focus on kind of like what you can do with the thing. Examples are, the company didn't really start working on Starlink until it became a serious issue in November 2018.
On the subject of Starlink, you guys can pause if you want to read this full email I sent to my old man back in 2014. I explained the implications of space-based internet, literally covering the entire planet, profoundly positive. And this was after Musk posted on X, again back in 2014. SpaceX is still in the early stages of developing advanced microsatellites operating in large formations. Announcement in 2 to 3 months. I have a long-standing policy of never giving investment advice to people watching my content ever, period, full stop, not once, never have, never will. Use your brain, use your balls, make your own decisions and stand by them, bitches. I really do mean that. I'm happy to share my thinking, my reasons, but I will never tell you what you should do. However, when it comes to family, I have a different policy for my loved ones. I did in fact tell my old man that Starlink would build massive value for SpaceX, and if SpaceX were to go public or buy shares, family is the only exception to the rule of me never giving investment advice. And here we are, 12 years later, SpaceX actually finally going public. Speaking of my old man, I think he still owns some Bitcoin from around 2013 or 14 when I put that on his radar too. So, just a bit of context. Starlink was announced, as in pre-announced, late 2014. Officially announced a few months later, more than a decade ago. And now it's growing at a stupid rate, printing crazy money, absolutely dominating. But it was a long time coming. And an astronomical, ridiculously ambitious project when first announced.
Which was out 2 years after they'd been doing reusable Falcon 9 flights. So my impression was he intuitively understood and the company understood that Falcon 9, they'd passed through this giant kind of challenging phase of getting Falcon 9 to be reusable, and they knew they were going to have a lot more launch capacity the next couple of years. And so it's finally time to start thinking about what do we do with all this extra capacity. And
I just really want to emphasize here, Starlink was announced before SpaceX had successfully reused, even just landed its first Falcon 9 booster. That happened a year later in 2015. But they were already thinking, once we solve this and massively drive launch costs down, increase launch cadence, what can we do with this? Oh, how about space-based internet? Musk and SpaceX were many moves ahead, thinking out in the distant future. Once we solve reusability, bring costs down, etc., what can we do with this? Oh, Starlink. The same thing's now happening with the Terafab project. Starship is going to dramatically lower launch costs once again, massively increase the amount of payload that can be launched to orbit every week. And what can be done with that is space-based AI.
That's when they got really serious about Starlink. I think that a few things happened around data centers in space in the last 6 months or so. I think it's very similar. The same way that you needed Falcon 9 reusable to become reliable. I think Elon and the company have gained a lot of confidence that Starship is going to be flying reliably and reusable this year in 2026. Like that's my strong sense. And very quickly, like within 2 years or so, I think the company's basically gonna have an excess capacity. Like they could launch all the just Starlink data satellites they wanted, all the direct-to-cell satellites they wanted, and they'd probably still have excess launch capacity in 2028 or 2029. And so on the one hand, you start thinking, what else should we be doing to be filling this capacity that's going to come, in 3 years or so? And on the other hand, like we all know what's happening in AI. We're limited by power, limited by regulation, even which is probably even more restrictive. And kind of the combination of excess supply, launch supply coming online with Starship, married with this extreme urgent pain point on Earth, got the company thinking very seriously around, like, can we actually do data centers in space? Does the math pencil out? And I mean, Elon has spoken about this quite a bit publicly. Like the answer is yes. The public hasn't yet gotten to see the full argument, like hasn't gotten to see the math. But I'll just say, I think the math is really compelling, and I think data centers in space. And I was on TBPN maybe 6 months ago saying, I didn't say I don't believe in data centers in space. I said, like, it's the right macro. I'm not sure if it's the right micro. Like, I haven't done all the math. I can say I have now done the math, and I think it's going to be absolutely giant.
And speaking of massive, I'm not sure why this isn't getting so much coverage. Maybe it's just not exciting, not very interesting, but Starlink is no longer just broadband internet. Starlink now offers a rapidly expanding cell service, another massive money printer with extremely reliable recurring revenue.
Cell service from space, pretty insane. And so direct to cell initially is for like the kind of most, technically it works everywhere, but SpaceX is limited with how much data can move into really dense places, like dense cities. Starlink has a weird property that, compared to terrestrial networks, like with the terrestrial network, when you build a cell tower, you have coverage just within a couple miles or whatever of the tower. With a Starlink satellite, it has coverage, over everywhere it passes on its orbit, and so a lot of time is passing over deserts or oceans or places that are not very populated. And so we have like an excess bandwidth capacity in remote areas and like a shortage in dense cities. And so direct-to-cell is initially working with kind of many of the global carriers, like T-Mobile in America was the first one. And when T-Mobile has bad cell service or low coverage, then they can kind of move on to the Starlink network and data will move directly from space to your phone. So basically these satellites are mimicking, they're spoofing cell towers. And it's going to be an absolute, SpaceX just announced that at the end of last year, they had 9.2 million subscribers on core Starlink consumer side and 6 million direct-to-cell subscribers. Direct-to-cell is growing very quickly. And when we go
Very quickly is an understatement. Starlink Direct-to-Cell was only launched relatively recently, and it's well on its way to overtaking Starlink broadband subscribers. As I mentioned, for whatever reason, Starlink cell service, people just don't seem to know or care or be interested, but this thing is unbelievably fast growing. It is absolutely reasonable to expect in the future, combined Starlink broadband customers plus Starlink cell service customers could exceed 1 billion.
5 years from now, all of my underwriting is, I think direct-to-cell will be probably even bigger than the original consumer internet business.
And what are the economics behind that? Maybe even compare it to legacy businesses.
Yeah, the economics are unbelievably good. There have been some very sophisticated analysts that have kind of put out their estimates. I may know too much here, but I will say it's incredibly good margins, incredibly strong unit economics. It's very positively disruptive, the same way how Africa leapfrogged with cellular communications, and instead of putting landlines everywhere, they kind of went straight to cell phones. Starlink is really a leapfrogging technology. You don't need to have ground infrastructure. And so we're seeing schools in Ghana, using Starlink so that kids can learn. But anyway, the unit economics I think it'll all come out in the S1.
Let's just think for a moment what a potential SpaceX investor would be buying at the IPO. The dominant launch company, the only company successfully reusing rockets, launching almost all of Earth's mass to orbit. while simultaneously developing the next-gen technology Starship. You have Starlink, not just Starlink broadband internet, but also Starlink direct-to-cell. So you've got an internet provider, a telecommunications company, a launch company. You have the Terafab project recently announced. This is batshit insane. The Starlink products themselves are extremely reliable, high margin, recurring revenue with crazy growth, both untouchable by competition because competition doesn't have the launch costs. But wait, there's more. Did you forget that SpaceX includes XAI, Grok, language, image generation, video, the Macro Hard project, human emulation. They've announced a video game studio. Oh, but you also didn't forget about the X platform, which is also part of the same entity, right? X currently early stages of launching X Money, going after the global financial services industry, which represents roughly a third of the global economy. Seriously, what the actual fuck? Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.